Rights affecting lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people vary greatly by country or jurisdiction, encompassing everything from the legal recognition of same-sex marriage to the death penalty for homosexuality. Notably, as of January 2021, 29 countries recognized same-sex marriage. By contrast, not counting non-state actors and extrajudicial killings, only one country is believed to impose the death penalty on consensual same-sex sexual acts. Iran. The death penalty is officially law but generally not practiced in Afghanistan. Brunei, Mauritania, Nigeria in 2020. 15 countries have stoning on the books as a penalty for adultery, which would include gay sex. But this is only enforced by the legal authorities in Iran. In 2011, the United Nations Human Rights Council passed its first resolution recognizing LGBT rights, following which the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights issued a report documenting violations of the rights of LGBT people, including hate crimes, criminalization of homosexual activity, and discrimination. Following the issuance of the report, the United Nations urged all countries which had not yet done so to enact laws protecting basic LGBT rights. Laws that affect LGBT people include, but are not limited to, the following. Yoni or non-vaginal sex of all types are punishable in the Arthashastra. Homosexual acts are, however, treated as a smaller offense punishable by a fine, while unlawful heterosexual sex carries much harsher punishment. The Dharmsastras, especially the later ones, prescribe against non-vaginal sex like the Vasishtha Dharma Sutra. The Yajnavalkya Smriti prescribes fines for such acts including those with other men. Manusmriti prescribes light punishments for such acts. Vanita states that the verse is about punishment for a sex between female and a maiden is due to its strong emphasis on a maiden's sexual purity. The ancient law of Moses forbids men from lying with men in Leviticus chapter 18 and gives a story of attempted homosexual rape in Genesis chapter 19. In the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, after which the cities were soon destroyed with brimstone and fire from the Lord, and the death penalty was prescribed to its inhabitants, and to Lot's wife, who was turned into a pillar of salt because she turned back to watch the city's destruction. In Deuteronomy chapter 22 verse 5, cross-dressing is condemned as abominable. In Assyrian society, sex crimes were punished identically whether they were homosexual or heterosexual. An individual faced no punishment for penetrating someone of equal social class, a cult prostitute, or with someone whose gender roles were not considered solidly masculine. Such sexual relations were even seen as good fortune. With an Akkadian tablet, the Suma Alu, reading, if a man copulates with his equal from the rear, he becomes the leader among his peers and brothers. However, homosexual relationships with fellow soldiers, slaves, royal attendants, or those where a social better was submissive or penetrated, were treated as bad omens. Middle Assyrian law codes dating 1075 BC has a particularly harsh law for homosexuality in the military, which reads, if a man have intercourse with his brother in arms, they shall turn him into a eunuch. A similar law code reads, if a senior lay with his neighbor, when they have prosecuted him convicted him, they shall lie with him turn him into a eunuch. This law code condemns a situation that involves homosexual rape. Any Assyrian male could visit a prostitute or lie with another male, just as long as false rumors or forced sex were not involved with another male. In ancient Rome, the bodies of citizen youths were strictly off limits, and the lex scantania imposed penalties on those who committed a sex crime against a free-born male. Minor, acceptable same-sex partners were males excluded from legal protections as citizens. Slaves, male prostitutes, and the infames, entertainers or others who might be technically free but whose lifestyle set them outside the law. A male citizen who willingly performed oral sex or received anal sex was disparaged. But there is only limited evidence of legal penalties against these men. In courtroom and political rhetoric, charges of effeminacy and passive sexual behaviors were directed particularly at democratic Politicians such as Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Roman law addressed the rape of a male citizen as early as the 2nd century BC, when it was ruled that even a man who was disreputable and questionable had the same right as other citizens not to have his body subjected to forced sex. A law probably dating to the dictatorship of Julius Caesar defined rape as forced sex against boy, woman, or anyone. The rapist was subject to execution, a rare penalty in Roman law. A male classified as infamies, such as a prostitute or actor, could not as a matter of law be raped, nor could a slave, who was legally classified as property. The slave's owner, however, Cole,